we are going to do on Zoom, so that'll be going live shortly. We are going to do on Zoom. Okay, well, we're getting there. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes. I know we've been pretty started on time well, but we'll let a few more moments and a few more people come in, and then we'll start the meeting. Do a couple things as we speak. Okay, well, I think we've got enough to start the meeting, and I've got all the sort of traditional stuff. So we're live on Zoom. We're recording the meeting, and I've got the live transcript on. So thank you, everyone, for our steering meeting this month. I wanted to just give a brief agenda and reiterate as we did last month, and that was, my goal is to make these meetings very efficient. I will tell you that I got a lot of positive feedback from the timing, because I think we had a really efficient meeting last time. But I know that, that we are in lots of Zoom meetings, and I think sort of being quick and to the point and having a good meeting, but at the same time, sticking to the point for these is my goal. So I think we want to be efficient and cover the topics, but at the same time, my goal is to be no longer than an hour, and I think we did that last month. So, as just to reiterate the even a simpler sort of agenda, I'm going to give a chair report. I'll give all the reports from the board and the chair. Then we'll go around to each of the committees in which they can, number one, share their meetings. Specifically, our goals always is to find out for the committees that already had their meetings, a little bit about resolutions that the mayor may not have, committees that are in front of us. If they are planning on it, that can always change, but I think it's sort of, we use this to sort of coordinate and plan for our next full board. And then we have some old business and new business. So with that, I'm going to jump in, and there's really just three things that I wanted to speak about. The first one is to confirm that we do have a new staff member, as I think the schematics. So his job descriptions is around being our assistant district manager. His official title, I think, as we touched when we made the offer, was a little different. But Maxwell, and Max is how he likes to be called, will be joining us. Monday will be his first day, so I think we're very excited about that. Yes, thank you. A couple applause. And there'll be something we're going to be sort of designing and sort of and working on defining his roles. But again, one of the things that I'm here to announce very early is Max will be all things digital. So he's going to be taking over the Zoom. He's going to be overseeing the website. He's going to be doing all of those things. I spoke to him today, and I said, you better get your digital hat on, because I think we want you to hit the ground running. So I know that Christian, I don't know, and Mark is here. I think it'd be good for, if we could set up, I think he knows Zoom, but he has to learn our Zoom. But I think we want to hit the ground running, all things digital. And I think that's really going to be the focus for the first couple of weeks. But I think you're all going to be very happy to meet him. And we will figure out a way, whether it's the next steering committee meeting or whether he comes to the full board, but we'll figure out a way for everyone to meet him. But I think you'll find him to be a very impressive person. The second part I want to do is I touched on last meeting, and I want to make sure that Elizabeth is here. But I mentioned something in the future, and that is we have to continue to have conversations about our meetings in the way that the open rules meetings got extended. People don't know, it got extended to January, which kind of buys us time till there. But then we'll be back in the thick of sort of making some decisions. And there's one of three things that's going to happen in January. Either it'll end and we'll go through exactly what we went in September, which we'll have to figure out what we're going to do. Either they'll extend it, whether it's another 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, or they will eventually amend kind of open rules laws, which is modify what they have or some version of that. But that is out there. And we've got to start to have a discussion and a discussion on what we're going to do when that comes. There may be no options, but if there is, so what we put together was, I think what we ended up doing, and I announced last steering meeting, is that we're going to have a task force. And for the lack of having a good name, and anybody can suggest it, whether it's the future meeting task force or whatever we want to call it, but we're going to put together a task force to put together different thoughts from all of you, and have that task force sort of make a recommendation, and we'll decide what that is, whether we're just going to look at those recommendations, whether vote. I think it'll be a work in progress. But I did want to announce that Elizabeth Caputo is going to head up that task force. And I've had some conversations with her. I think she should be on here, so I can't see everyone at a time, but we spoke just before. If not, I think she'll be eminently joining. And when we get to the new business piece of it, she can elaborate a little bit of what's going on, but Elizabeth Caputo, a previous chair, is going to set that up. I've given her lots of latability in how she wants to put that task force together. I think she has some ideas and she'll share that. And then the last point is just kind of note to everyone, just remember the holidays are coming up. January, we have some holidays. In February, all of them are going to affect our meeting schedule a little bit. I know, Barbara, I owe you some feedback on some dates because Barbara brought it to my attention, but we're going to have to kind of adjust the calendar a little bit. We're in the process of that, but just kind of note to everyone that if you get some emails or if you get some calendars, we're going to have to adjust some meetings because they're falling on holidays, and you know, we're in the process of doing that, but just kind of a note to self. So those are really the three things that I wanted to focus on. With that, let's go around the horn, as they say, and go through the chair reports. And again, I think the thing is, let us know again of any resolutions that you've done, any resolutions that you will do, anything we should consider for full board, and you can share any things that you're working on. I do think it's a good time to share a little bit about it. So as I look down, I just have one in front of me. I'm going to start out with preservations, which I believe was our first meeting of the month.
Yeah, I think, Michelle, we have two resolutions. We're merciful compared to last time around. One of them is real simple, and one of them is complicated, but I don't think incredibly controversial. You never know. So that's us. Did I cover everything, Michelle?
You got it.
Okay.
Can you tell us what happened at LPC today?
Oh, you mean for the last 4 hours of my life that I'll never get back? Yeah, no, it was really super interesting. In the end, they decided not to make a decision, but to punt a little bit, to work on a revision of the plan. Some of the rest of you were on there. You could add to it.
This was the really application on 77th Street, everybody.
Yeah, sorry.
Two-tiered glass
Street,
house.
Penthouse, rooftop, whatever. Yeah, it was pretty fascinating. But yeah, so no decision yet. They'd like the folks to work on making it less visible, less big, less tall.
I think that's what Paige called it on that. The height.
Yeah, the height seemed to be one thing that they really were pushing, the architect and the other.
So I will add something, that there was a lot of positive feedback, although it was a long meeting and a laborious meeting and a challenging meeting. I would say that you don't get a lot of them, but we had a handful of really positive feedback that was complimentary of the board and how we sort of went through the process and listened through, and that was nice to see, because most people criticize, but it was nice to see some positive feedback.
Yeah. A lot of the commissioners mentioned, our role, and we were called first to testify, and there were some big names on that much bigger than us. But I thought that was a sign of respect for what the community thinks and feels.
Okay, I did want to emphasize, Paige, I see your hand up. We generally, one of the things that I've asked is that, if we want to make brief statements, but if we have elaborate conversations about something, it's more appropriate at the committee meetings, but certainly conversations. So Paige, did you want to make a comment? I see your hand up. You got to unmute yourself. Well, as she does so, Paige has a lovely scarf on, so I'll fill in a little.
There you go.
hand.
Okay. Sorry about that. No, it was a very long meeting. I logged on at 1 o'clock and it ended about 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago. The issues were very, very interesting, both for an architect. I did not represent Landmark West. I did not represent the community board. I represented preservation and cited my own educational experience on a project like this. It went all over the place. Kay is absolutely right. They almost discussed exchanging recipes was the only thing I think they didn't do. But one thing that I think would help our committee and make it clearer is that when we have a resolution, I think rather than just talk about what we talked about, it would be better to hand in the resolution and read it. Because your committee, this committee, Michelle and Kay and Jay, I don't think he's here tonight, but everybody has a very important point of view and things get skewed. And there was a lot of skewing. You could hear it in people's voices from the public. The public, it was not unanimous by any means in terms of residents, neighbors, other activists, historic districts council, you name it, everybody was there. It was like, a weird cocktail party. So I just suggest to make it easy for everyone, my advice would be like the old days, write it down, read it, and get it to the commission as quickly as we can within the time limit that we have, because sometimes I know Kay and Michelle, you're scrambling to meet a deadline because of the hearings. They are coming back, and the upshot is they've got to lose the upper piece, lose the glass around the elevator, set it back, lower the building down, and reduce the height of the building. Those were the principal elements that we hinted at, but it wasn't very clear. And I think it's important that the community understands that we're on their side. There was an awful lot of talk about how much money he had. It was embarrassing. But anyway, that's my report, and that's what I recommend. I don't know if that flies in the face of what Kay and Michelle are doing, but I think it would help enormously because then you have a script to work from.
Well, they had the resolution in front of them. So you're right, I did not read it, but I guess I could have.
Well, the reason why you read it is it gives the commission the opportunity to enter into a dialogue with you rather than extraneous or supplemental information that they can't absorb. They have a team sitting there behind desks tracking and doing things. So I'm just saying, I think it would help your statements to do that, because then you'd get more feedback instead of thank you, because I don't think they know how to handle these comments. And you witnessed that. You saw that today, Kay. It was all over the shop. But anyway.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's, thank you. I think
All right,
maybe
that's it.
Conversation to continue at the preservation meeting, and perhaps maybe you talk about processes and how you guys want to work together. I think it's a great topic to continue maybe during your newer or old business, just to talk about how you guys want to work as a group. But thank you very much, Paige, and thank you, Preservations. Let's move on to transportations. And I was at that meeting, so I believe that we are going to have a hefty load based on what I saw.
Yes, we have a load. We have 4 resolutions coming to full board. One of which is about installing 2 electric car charging stations, one on 76th and the other on 84th Street, both between Columbus and Amsterdam. There's a resolution about secondarily naming West 89th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam for Ballet Hispanico. There's a resolution actually disapproving additional teacher parking for Joan of Arc High School complex on West 93rd. And there is a resolution on e-bike safety. So those are our 4 resolutions. They inspired a lot of discussion, which I assume they will also do at full board.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Andrew, can I ask a question?
Sure,
What is
Richard.
what is the nature of the resolution on e-bike safety?
Do you want me to read the whole thing? It's rather
If
lengthy.
you
but-
just summarize
We
it.
don't want you to read
resolution,
the whole
yeah.
thing. What we want you to do is give them a summary, and then you could
Yeah.
send it out, and then we're going to have a great debate at our full board.
Okay.
Sure, it's basically to have them licensed, to get license plates on them, have the operators of them get insurance, and have them observe traditional traffic safety rules and laws, and go the right way down streets and things of that nature. No speeding, but registration is the be all and end all, basically.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Sure.
I'm going to kind of stay in order. And I know that I normally do task force last, but I'm going to go on dates. So let's have the senior task force report, because they always wait to the end.
We had a very good meeting this month. We discussed one of the problems the agents are having is that their RFPs are taking a very long time to reach the agencies and to get the monies back. And we are going to be working on a series of forums for seniors via live streaming, and also in some of the senior centers, which will take place after the first of the year. Steve, you're muted.
Sorry about that. It's contagious. BCI.
We had, Christian, I mean, we had two applications, two resolutions, pretty pro forma. So we have a new restaurant coming into town, which will be lovely. And Barbara Adler was there because it's in her building. So we had that whole discussion. And wait, am I looking? I mean, I'm looking.
No, that was the previous month, Linda.
I printed out the last month. Do you have this month in front of you?
Hold on.
Sorry. I was prepared. with the
Every
wrong
month's
one.
the same, huh, Linda? It's all coming together. They're all blending together.
Yeah. But it is going to be a nice restaurant.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
two,
I-
2751 Broadway and 17 Amsterdam Avenue, and one expansion into the municipal property, 240 Columbus Avenue.
Great.
Oh, that was, yeah, one was extending, that was police. And they were going to extend their sidewalk space, and it was pretty pro forma. And what was the other one, Christian?
The
710 Amsterdam.
yeah, 17
they-
Amsterdam Avenue, right?
And so they're changing, Doug worked on the original one, they're changing from they've got new ownership, but it's basically the same format as seafood restaurant. So that's,
No name change either.
Yeah.
yeah.
They were related to Benjamin Wu.
No, and that was very funny. One of the presenters was father-in-law of Benjamin Wu, and he wanted to know if he could vote, and I said, yeah, you're not being paid by them. You're not on, you're not working for them, so there's no problem there. But he was shocked to see his father-in-law there, so it was quite amusing. So
We never know how that vote might have gone, so we'll see.
And the third one,
Either way.
the expansion into municipal property, that was the second such application that we have entertained, and
Something burning,
they're
Nick?
going to become more common now.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's continue onward and upward. Parks and Environment. They had a meeting last night. I know that there was a lot of positive feedback, so let's hear where we stand.
Natasha?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had our meeting last night. The main, just a second. So the main, sorry, I had to tell my kids to be quiet. So the main item on the agenda was about sanitation issues. I thought it went quite well. There was quite a good showing, both from the public and the speakers. I'm supposed to be working on the resolution, which I will have to Barbara, and then we will circulate it to the committee very shortly. It's my first time writing a resolution, so it's taking me long. The second item on the agenda was the EDC that came back to us with an updated plan for the dock house at the boat basin. And there were a few questions about that, design related, but Barbara is doing the letter, and we will circulate that to the committee also very soon. There won't be a resolution on this item. And then thirdly, the third item was the Chess and Checkers house in Central Park. It's going to undergo a major renovation with restrooms, which is, I think, the biggest deal in the city, in any park in the city. So it was also a very well thought out plan, and it seems to have been received very positively, and we all unanimously approved it. And Barbara's already written up the resolution on that.
Thank you. So to confirm, 2 resolutions, is that what I heard?
And one letter, yes.
That's correct.
The letter, and the letter is a little different. So great. 2 things I wanted to say. Number one, I'm very excited to see the presentation on the chess room. I've been there many times. I don't know if people know my kid played chess, so I've been in there many times. So I'm excited that they're renovating it. And I just wanted to compliment both Natasha and Barbara. I don't know if people know, but they actually put a questionnaire asking for feedback from the community before the meeting. I'm not sure how many got. I think we can do a better job next time, as we sort of know. So hopefully it was valuable, but I thought it was, I thought it was a great idea.
Natasha really deserves all the credit for this. She did it. She wrote it. She sent it around. She got neighborhood groups to take it and send it around, and there were over 300. How many responses?
Yeah, there were 28 responses from organizations like BIDS and block associations, etc., and 314 individual residents responded.
Yeah,
including a lot of members of our community board. So thank you.
Well, that's really impressive, much more. And you should know it was only on the website. And I think next time we can do, what I meant was we can support you in a much better way and sort of sending out emails and going to so I'm super impressed with that number, and just something for everyone to take into consideration. But that was really great. I see 2 hands up. Remember, I want to make sure we're keeping it to our steering committee topics. Roberta and Courtney.
Very quickly, I thought it was a great meeting. I thought you did a great job. Natasha, we have sample resolutions. If you want, I can send you a copy. They're in the handbook. I'm glad to send the sample resolutions out to all the steering members if that's helpful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roberta. And yeah, why don't be happy to have a refresher to send something out. I think that you had sent one to Jane. He rewrote it last month and found it useful. So perhaps that's a good thing. Courtney?
2 things, Natasha. I think the first time I wrote a resolution, I think it took me approximately 1,000 hours. So just what it is. It got faster.
I just saw her slunk in her chair, you should see. So I don't know if you're trying to motivate her or demotivate her.
No, I just meant I over obsessed over it, and I think bugged Roberta for a million examples as well. So no, what I was going to say was I loved the survey. I took the survey. I thought it was a great idea. And so I was going to ask, and we can take this offline, but I would love to talk more about how you got that number of respondents and how we can get more, because I think it's a really great tool. We talk a lot about community engagement, and a lot of them started showing up to our meetings, which was great. But what a much more time efficient way to gather opinions ahead of our decisions and have their voice in the room when we're having our discussions in community. So I just really, A, wanted to applaud you, and B, wanted to pick your brain for how you did that, because it was great.
Thank you. Thanks for the kind words. Stephen, do I have time to respond, or do you just want to move on?
Sure.
Yeah.
You have a diligent time to respond, and you have another hand raiser. So,
all right. Yeah. So the survey was actually the idea of Chris Giordano from, Julian's dad from the Upper West Side Block Association Coalition. And he put the idea in my mind, and then I created one for the block associations, which he basically distributed. And then we did another one for the individuals, which he also distributed. And then later on, I found out just through the grapevine that somebody put it on, I don't even know who put it on this Facebook group, Upper West Side, I don't know, Save the Upper West Side or one of those. So that got a lot of responses. And I think it just found its way, like people just forwarding it here and there. I think a lot of it also had to do with the content or the subject matter. I think these issues are, as awkward as they are to talk about, everybody is literally being affected by them right now. So it was definitely something that there was this real hunger to be heard by a lot of people. So
Right. Thank you, Natasha.
And also we put it up on our website. Yeah.
Well, I don't think we got 300, so I know somebody else put it up there, but that's the way to do it. Luisa, I think Luisa has a question as well, or a statement. Luisa, I know you well. You have to unmute yourself. See, I catch what you have sometimes. So
it's a good thing.
Yeah, not bad.
Natasha, I just want to thank you, Natasha, and just to tell you how it worked for us. It went to the West 80th Street Block Association. Somebody was a friend of somebody, and what they did was they sent it around our building. We have an email that goes to everybody, and everybody just got into it, and they kept sending out, I've done it, and passed it on to somebody else. And you're right. I think that it was the subject matter that everybody was interested in. But at the end, there were 23 people in my building, 23 apartments that filled it in out of 37 apartments. So I thought that was fantastic. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I know that Chris sent the survey for the residents to his members, the block associations within his organization, and each of the block associations did send it out to their listservs. So I think that was another avenue that it got out there.
Yeah, it was very good.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Luisa. Courtney, I'd like to move on. And if you would like to talk to Natasha, I'd ask that you
I'll talk to Natasha and I'll talk to you because Natasha, it gives me an idea and I'll talk to you about it after.
Okay, I appreciate that as we want to continue to move forward. So land use, I believe, Richard, that we're not going to have our meeting this month, but why don't you share any, I think it's canceled, but certainly you can share any thoughts and anything about the committee.
We have nothing formal on the agenda, and we decided to not hold the meeting this month, but coming up, we have an ongoing discussion about scaffolding that remains up on these buildings, and the scaffolding, in some cases, have been there so long that they've become landmarks. And we want to probably explore how to address that issue, which we will do in the near future. The other big thing is that, and I don't think our committee can do it alone, is we should be starting to talk about street restaurants. It's going to move, it may move fairly quickly, and we should try to get our act together, see whether we are all in agreement or disagreement or where we stand on these various points. And I think it should really be, in a sense, a task force, but I'll leave that up to you. But it should certainly include BCI and transportation. And we ought to really start planning for that pretty soon, just to exchange ideas initially.
So thank you, Richard. And Jeanette, I see that you want to speak as well. So we'll allow you to, I'll make sure that I give you time. To your point, there was a resolution that came out of transportation, I think started the process. I do think that we do need to maybe speak about how we want to look at that. It does go across most likely 3 committees. And I agree that that's a conversation to be started and to think about. I think we've got a little time now that we went past the text amendments, but point taken, note taken. I do think we should think about how we want to do it. But again, it is across 3 committees, and I don't have an answer yet, but I think that we should figure out how we want to look at it from a holistic community board perspective.
What got me started was an article in today's, I think it was today's Times, that they're holding a series, Department of Transportation is holding a series of community meetings. And apparently the first one was in the West Village. And there was a tremendous amount of opposition from neighbors, but in any event, it's going to be controversial, whether for or against it.
I mean, and I see some hands up. They're starting. I mean, my understanding is they're starting their process and they're coming to community boards, and we've been very concerned about it. And I will bring it up a little bit. I mean, the president borough board is this Thursday, and I may be able to just sort of ask if there's any plan. I can ask if there's any plan in terms of timetable when they'll be presenting, but duly noted as a very important issue to all of us. I do want to acknowledge transportation asked for like a study. Remember, we talked about it last month. I think you had an amendment to it. So we have started to make some statements on it, but I think we have to think how we want to look at it. I want to let Jeanette speak. I see Linda, your hand's up, but Jeanette is the other co-chair and I want to give her a chance to speak.
Thank you, Stephen. And actually on open restaurants as well, I got contacted by a professor who said that she noticed that, I mean, a member of the public who happens to be a professor at Fordham University, who said she noticed that our resolution voted against the open restaurants, but in the ZAP portal record, it shows that community boards haven't approved open restaurants. And I know that, you know, now our resolutions have to be entered through the ZAP portal on the website. And there was some confusion as to who actually does that. I know that we've had a lot of staff changes with Michelle coming in and everything. But I thought it would be, one, it would be good to have a clear procedure on what happens to our resolutions once they're done, and that they're entered properly, and two, that this is corrected, because I do think it's important, especially given the conversation that we just had about how important this issue is.
Yeah, point taken. So a little bit of future planning. One of the other factoids is Max, our new hire, is an aficionado and is very passionate about land use. He has done all of this at his last community board. He is very adept at doing this. So if we can engage with him right away, because I think he's got a lot of experience. We'll have him look to see if there was an error. If there was an error, we'll fix it. He will definitely be the person. There are some still plannings. I will tell you that Max is going to be kind of your point person at land use because number one, he's got the experience, and number two, he passionately wants to do it. And we'll figure out what that looks like. But I will know. I have a note to myself. I'm taking in a lunch. I'm sure Michelle is taking notes as well, but we'll get on this right away. And feel free to remind us on Monday, and that's his first day, but we can get on that right away.
By the way, when it is corrected, a correct summary of our resolution is not that we opposed or favored the street resolutions. We opposed the amendment to the zoning resolution, which because it put the cart before the horse.
Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll set up a meeting with the two of you right away.
Right. And Max.
Again, I think he'll be happy to have, and then maybe you guys can talk about a game plan. But I know he's very familiar with all of the portals, and I feel very confidently that with the other, with Michelle and the other office, we'll rectify it right away. So thank you for bringing that up. I do see two hands up. I want to make sure they're brief, but Linda and Christian, let's hear what you have to say about this topic.
I think, yeah. Well, the zoning amendment did pass yesterday by the city planning. Put it into action. Thank goodness. We lost it by 1 point. We voted against it, although the resolution was to reject it. But it's there. But now we've got some issues, and DOT still refuses to meet with DCI. So we sent our representative questions, and she's asking for more information on the questions, and I don't think we have any answers right now. Evidently, she only meets with the the Transportation Committee and land use, but
Linda,
she's not.
I'll be proactive. Let's have a conversation tomorrow. The next day,
offline.
I
don't. Yeah.
I think that I know somebody else that we can talk to get an answer. I don't see why we couldn't make that happen. And so
that would be lovely, Stephen, because we really have extended ourselves. I did send her questions, so all she had to do was answer. So So I don't know what to do. And I agree with Richard. We are going to have a meeting for the 3 committees, but the committee that actually represents the restaurants and the people are there should have, the restaurants should be there. They should have a say in what's going on as well.
Understood.
So yeah, as well as the residents. So, okay. So
But let's chat tomorrow or the next day. I can escalate that. And I think I can get a better answer. Christian, do you
Okay,
want
I'm better Thursday.
anytime this week?
Okay, yes, I just want to be clear that we're not going to be voting on whether we're going to have restaurants on the streets or not. This is a done deal. This is something that the city council passed. We're going to have a permanent street sitting for now. What we're going to be discussing is what shape does that takes and what regulations we apply and how far they go. But we're going to have restaurants on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, what's done is done, and it's behind us. But the point is that they have said that as they move forward, they're going to engage community boards, and I think we can think about how we want to engage as well. And I think it's just a starting point. So thank you for bringing that up. I really like to move on, but Doug, did you want to add something as well?
Just wanted to add that there was a public meeting at City Planning that the Department of Transportation presented at. I can certainly send the link. I'm sure the recording is available, where they did speak about some of the specific rules that they intend to roll out. I don't believe it's written in stone. And there was quite a number of things I think that we would all be interested in. Some of the very questions that we've been asking have been answered, and there are many others unanswered. But that process is afoot. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's move forward. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jeanette. And let's move on to, let's look at our bylaws task force.
Thank you so much. Reporting live from Connecticut, where I'm delighted to tell you that a new Costco warehouse has opened in South Windsor today, and they're doing gangbusters. At any rate, the bylaws task force is plowing ahead. I think it's not unreasonable to say that we should have something to show the full board first quarter of 2022.
Yeah, and just to support, I think I've had some conversations with Susan, and there was different plans. Do we bring something each month or every couple of months? Do we wait? I think we decided, or my suggestion, I think that we agreed that she's got some work. They've been doing some great work, but there'll be a time and a place to present it. We'll work with Susan to do so. Whether it's at the steering committee or the full board, we'll figure out what's best. But they've been working diligently on some work, and I think they're excited to bring it to us, and we'll do so in a manner in which, and then we'll have a healthy debate about it.
I think, thank you, Stephen. You've been so supportive of us. The decision was not to torture the board with more than one meeting about this. It might be long, but let's just do it once and rip off the Band-Aid. So
never use those words about a meeting. Never use those words about a meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's do YEL.
All right, sorry. So we have our meeting on Thursday. So we have not met yet. And we will be joined at our meeting by CEC3 President Lucas Liu, who's the new president of CEC3, to give us his perspective on what CEC3's priorities are and what they see coming down the road, and look for areas of opportunity where we might have common interests and want to work together. And then we will also be joined by Erica Overton from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's office. For those who don't know, Assemblymember Rosenthal has actually been incredibly helpful to YL on a lot of these school issues. She's been very involved and engaged with asking the DOE for some answers that have been hard to procure. Anyway, so she had a meeting with with New York City Chancellor Misha Porter, and Erica's going to provide us an update with on what she learned from that meeting. So it should be interesting and be open for questions, and then we'll talk about what else we want to do ahead. So that's the meeting we have on Thursday.
Thank you. And are you anticipating?
I was just about to say, yeah, I don't necessarily anticipate we'll be coming out with any resolutions from Thursday.
Okay, I'm going to jump just one ahead to Shelley. I think he had sent me a text that he may have some timing issues. So Shelley, why don't we have you go? And
okay, sure. HHS will be having two major pieces to our meeting next Tuesday night. One is community conversations on COVID-19 vaccine. We're going to have Dr. Simba Inji, who is with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and he's an assistant commissioner. The discussion is particularly relevant now with the beginning of a surge in winter COVID and other things that are controversial about what is included in considerations for mandates and what's not. And so it's a hot issue, and he's the man who knows the most and is objective. And second, we're going to have a report and discussion of the Racial Justice Commission on where is structural racism embedded in the New York City Charter. New York City Charter is being reconsidered, and it's time to look into what we can analyze, understand was a remnant of what should be the past and may be corrected. So really looking forward to that. And last of all, I spent an hour before this meeting with the new CAB from Help 107th Street, which is the, if you recall, the shelter that was a women's shelter that we tried to keep a women's shelter that became a adult men's shelter, which is now a adult male employment shelter. And although there were good reports on what was going on there, the members of the 107th Street community spent the last half of the meeting with complaints. The precinct representatives were there. They defined what they could do. The Help USA told what they can do. It wasn't settled satisfactorily, but the best part was their helpline, mainline to Help USA in the shelter was given out to the community. And so people will be able to speak to them directly, and hopefully that'll be a first step at bringing the community closer. So that's what's going on with HHS.
Thank you, Shelley. And again, I know you said you had some.
Right. I'm sorry I have to leave.
I saw your note. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then we'll now finalize, I think the last, well, no, we have one more, I forgot, but let's have housing. I know housing got moved a little bit later in the month, so we'll get an update on that meeting.
Sure. We're having a fellow from Furman come talk to us about the Furman Center at NYU about converting hotels to affordable housing and the barriers, both logistical and bureaucratic, to doing so more widely in New York City. So might be of interest to folks beyond the housing committee. So I encourage you to join if you can. It's on the 22nd.
Thanks. And do you think, do you anticipate a resolution, or have you thought of any thoughts on that? And again, it can change.
I don't think so. Okay. But Louisa, chime in if you feel otherwise.
Perhaps.
I'll move it to a maybe.
It seems to me that we could do it just in that if we feel that this should be encouraged.
Understood. I just want to point out one of the challenges to being that month that you're going to have to do. If you do a resolution, we're going to need a quick turnover in order to sort of get board prep. So please just reminded of that. And again, I think whatever you do is we're happy to do. I just want to again point out that due to the time point of the month, we want to turn that over as quickly as possible. See one hand raised up. Roberta, do you want to say something?
Thank you. Your stepchild, the budget committee.
Well, I said I got one more. So I saw it. So with that, I'll go to the stepchild, the budget committee. I thought you were burnt out for the last month or so, but you're up. So gotcha.
Thanks so much, Beverly, who helped me. We did a major job getting everything into the up on the web, the city planning portal by the last Friday in October. It's very different. So we are going to have our first budget meeting for the new budget year in December, and we will be looking at how to reach out to the committees so that we can fit it. The portal wants things done in a certain way, and it's not been the way that CB7 has done it. And it would have been easier for Beverly and me if we had worked at it from the beginning. So at our December budget committee, we're going to come up with new protocols for the coming year, and we will get back to the committees once we've had that meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Roberta. Okay, so we've gone through all of our meetings. I think we've got a sense of how to prepare for full board. I do want to jump back into, I guess I would call it old business because we started talking about it, but I did want to hand it over to Elizabeth just to talk a little bit about the task force. I think I've named it so you could change it, but I don't have a good name. So the Future Meeting Task Force, whatever you want to call it, carte blanche, but why don't you give a little bit of feedback on what you're thinking about it?
Sure, it's great to see everyone, and thanks for this opportunity. I'm really excited to think through this with board members as part of a task force that has to work in pretty short order to make some recommendations. For those of you who didn't work with me during the time I was chair of the board, one of the things I did even before being chair of the board was get our meetings live streamed and also allow for sort of more interactivity. I think the pandemic has only brought out sort of new ideas, and I've gotten in a lot of incoming from people about new ways that we need to rethink how we keep our meetings inclusive. And just like every company in New York City and every organization is dealing with this issue on how people return to work, our board is dealing with it too. So I think that was sort of the genesis of why we wanted to put together this task force. I'm looking forward to, again, over the next sort of 2 to 3 months, putting together a timeline, ideas. I've begun reaching out to folks who I think have expressed interest, who I'm going to be working with as members, and I think we'll have a lot more to announce in the coming days. But again, really excited. I think it's an important time as we think about public meetings in particular, how we're going to do them in this new era, and get back to sort of the way we can maximize input from the community, which is what we are all volunteers supposed to do, which is really solicit and involve the community as much as possible. That is our top priority as community board members. So excited to put together this team, and that's it. So happy to answer a few questions if you have them.
Okay, Ken has his hand raised.
Yeah, if the timeline is 2 to 3 months, January 15th is less than 2 months away. Don't we need to move faster?
We are moving fast, Ken, and I anticipated that question. I think you'll be hearing within the next few days sort of a more detailed timeline. I also think our state and local elected officials, we're waiting to hear from them as well on this issue.
Yeah, just to elaborate, and I think I said in the beginning, but maybe not clearly. It is a short timeline. I think I'm going to get a little bit of feedback from our borough president on kind of a timeline. But if things go well, I mean, if things go the way I think Elizabeth and I think it is going to be a short timeline, and she's well aware of that. And I think we're just looking to finalize some more input. But yes, it will move quickly. We're in a now conversation.
Yeah, so specifically November and December are going to be quite busy for the task force, and we'll be, keeping you all apprised of that as we recruit people and talk about the next steps.
Okay, well, thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate you stepping forward on this, and we look forward to your leadership on this and the end results. So thank you. Okay. That's the only old business I have, and the last part of our meeting is new business. So are there any new business to bring up? Okay, well, I'm going to take that. Oh, Michelle, your hand's up. You want to talk about? Okay, so let's talk about some new business. Michelle.
Thank you. I wanted to, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but I'm going to say it the way I talk. I wanted to talk about some of the conduct by some of the members, in particular one at the last full board meeting. I thought that it was extremely unnecessary, extremely rude to the public as well as the full board. I think it may have been directed personally at somebody on the board, even if it wasn't, it gave the appearance that it was directed at the members of the board. And I just don't think it's right that people on the board act like that in public to each other, to the public, and to the public it looks bad, and to the board members it looks bad.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I will talk to Susan. I think there is some best practices that we put forward, and we'll reiterate them. The incident that you're talking about, I think, has been handled appropriately, and all people have discussed. So I think that's behind us.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. The other thing I wanted to bring up was,
I didn't want to just continue to speak on that, but I will say that
I'm sorry.
There was a best practices put by the bylaws. Some of those were some things about, such as not drinking in public on a phone and when you're on, and there are some best practices that I think we're getting loose on as a group, candidly, and not just to speak about one incident. So to your point, I'd be more than happy to resend that out, and perhaps with new members as well. But Susan, perhaps we can revisit that, which was, we're on Zoom. It's a new world, and there are best practices that should be taken, whether it's muted, whether it's proper attire. We've had people share links that really shouldn't happen. Links have been shared with other people without letting us know. So I think there's a series of things we need to tighten up. But so I think there's a handful of things we can do.
Can I respond to that? It's up to you. It's up to the steering committee. It's up to the full board. But I think that the full board deserves a public apology.
Okay. Well, your voice has been spoken, but this matter's over. I spoke to that person, and it's been handled. And with all due respect, it's behind us.
Okay. I have a second issue, and I appreciate that Jeanette brought it up with such finesse. I could never talk like that, but it sounded like what she said is, and what you affirmed is, that we will soon learn the format of presenting resolutions after they're written of committee resolutions given to the board and then given to the various agencies. Am I right?
I don't think I understand.
Okay, let me say that again. We will soon learn how a resolution, once written by a committee and then once given to the office, is then transferred to the respective agencies. In particular, I'll refer to preservation. Our resolutions have to go to the Landmarks Preservation Commission. How that's done, and if there's an editing process between the time that the committee writes the resolutions and the resolution goes to Landmarks.
Yeah, so there is a process. That process has happened. Sometimes mistakes are made, so there were some issues that were driven. But there also is a process, and that is a draft is sent out to all of you co-chairs, and you guys are responsible for reading that and catching any errors, to be honest. So I think there's a process that we all have to follow up. We all have to take our responsibility. Mistakes are made, and there was an issue made. I have done what I believe is the proper feedback. We're going to address it. We're going to make sure it's cleaned up. But again, there is a process. There's lots of checks and balances, and we all have to make sure that we're doing so. So if that's your question is surrounding those resolutions, I don't believe you keep using the word edited. I think that's the wrong mistake. I've talked about that in private with you. I think it's the wrong semantics to use, but we're free to say as we do. There is a process. The process will be and will continue to do so. We had a mishap. That mishap has been taken care of. I believe it'll be back to being rectified the way things need to be.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
We now have a lot of hands open, so we're going to work through them. But these conversations should be about a steering committee and about the topics we're talking about. Ethel, I see your hand up.
Thank you very much. Just a perhaps the factual thing. There are a number of boards do have ethics committees. That doesn't mean they meet all the time or anything, but by way of help, and there are many different questions that arise, not necessarily meeting by meeting. And I think there was a time that Board 7 did have an ethics committee, and in reference to the question alluded to tonight or at other times, I think it was helpful, and in fact can be appropriate as compared to detailing all sorts of practices and bylaws. Over my time, one has to be wary of enormous details in every way in bylaws. You could be falling over it with the clutter. So that's number one. And very quickly, lastly, in terms of resolutions and so on, I think that most people on the board know that there has always been a procedure of what committees do and how they're submitted to the office and so on. I think that I have heard there have been some glitches. I think that this can be rectified by clear summarizing for everybody and within the office, as it will be fully staffed soon, that can be implemented appropriately, and in fact, in the way that Community Board 7 has always done it properly. There may have been a couple of glitches now. Let's all work that they don't happen again, and that we all know how the office and everything else is supposed to work correctly vis-a-vis the agencies.
Thank you, Ethel. Points taken on all, and I think in terms of as we bring in a new member, the point is to continue to add processes and to fix those things. And as you say, glitches happen from time to time. Something happened. We'll correct that. And thank you for the positive feedback.
Well, we can all help, perhaps, in small ways.
Takes a village, right? But thank you very much, Jeanette.
Unmute.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute and I'm on video. I just want to point out, I was not trying to point fingers at anybody in the mistake. I did not notice it. A member of the public brought it to me, and I totally recognize that, there's a lot going on at the board office with Michelle and Jesse and new staff and everything. But we were getting emails from city planning, and I had no idea before that we even were supposed to submit this through the portal. And so while we may have procedures on how we deal with resolutions, it was under my impression that this was a newer procedure that now resolutions have to go through, and that's probably something that's going to be more common. And so I just thought that it's appropriate at the steering committee, for the appropriate folks to look into that and to correct it. Thanks.
And thank you, Jeanette. I don't think anybody took it that way. And I think land use is one of those unique ones where you actually have to formally fill out a document and so, and I do think it's a learning curve. So, but thank you for clarifying it. I certainly didn't take it that way. I've got one more person, then we're going to adjourn the meeting. Paige.
Unmute.
Yep, I'm there. I just wanted to report, and because I saw several community board members. The Manhattan Borough President did this amazing evening. It was actually last night. Blind spots, unconscious, and implicit bias in professional spaces. And it was fascinating. They had this very dynamic woman. You play games, you don't get graded. And it was a real eye opener. And I don't know how many of the people I can see here who attended. I think, Mark, you were there? Yep. And yes, others. And I don't know how you feel, but I think it's every now and then it's good to get a tune-up and some positive reinforcement. And I would recommend this. And the woman who did the presentation, you guys should chime in, is dynamic. She made us do silly things, but it made us look at another side of what our statements are being read by others. With the best intentions, we sometimes hurt feelings. So hey, go for it, it's free. And I don't know when the next one is. I don't think we were told, but the community board should look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. I think there was a series of people. I was there as well. I know Doug.
Oh,
was there.
right.
There was a bunch of people from Community Board 7 there. They also said that they were going to send out a handout, and if they do so, we can pass that on as well. But,
Oh, perfect.
I saw you
Great.
there. Well, it was well attended amongst many board members and many community boards. So if they bring it up again, I'll make sure that I announce it. So with that, look, the only thing I wanted to say is there was a couple. I've been wanting to say this for a while, and that is, we all work really hard, and I think, but I think we should. Everyone makes mistakes, and I think we're all here well-intended, and I think that sometimes we things are said, but at the same time, I think it's important we all everyone's trying the best. I'm gonna mute someone, which is right then and there. These things happen. But when in doubt, I think we should give people the doubt, and I think we should turn the other cheek a little bit, and I think we should try and be supportive of everyone. I look at every person here, and I think everyone's giving 100% and is well intent, and I think that's the position that I try and come from as much as possible. I can tell you that we all have made mistakes, whether it be making a mistake with an email or making a mistake with every person sitting on this Zoom has made a mistake. And I think, we just have to realize that we're all doing the best we can. The majority of us are volunteers. We're all well-intended. And every once in a while, let's take a breath, and just realize we're all in this together. I think that if that could guide us a little bit better. I feel like the hostility over, when you're in person, it's much different, but when we're on Zoom, sometimes it's easier to kind of jump to a mental spot. I like the in-person meetings. I used to walk around, how you doing, have a little water. It was sort of a little bit of a social event. So perhaps, we'll see what happens in the future. But again, I would just ask that let's have a little faith in our fellow people, and that we're all trying to do the best we can. And when we make a mistake, perhaps thinking it as everyone makes a mistake. No one's perfect. That's the only thought that I'd want to end it on. So with that, let me see, 2 minutes over. I told a few people we're going to try and do it in an hour. So 7:32, not quite the thing, but hopefully efficient. I thank everyone. Everyone have a wonderful day. Have great meetings, and I look forward to everyone at full board in the future. Thank you.